Hi, welcome to the audio review show. This is JP coming in from South Korea, and
This is James Demer coming in from Portland, Maine, USA.
yeah, we're excited to be here. Excited to discuss a lot of great earphones and headphones and other audio products with you guys. So the first episode that we're gonna do, we're here and we're excited to introduce the Kiwi Ears Cadenza. This is one dynamic driver, beryllium coated diaphragm dynamic driver. It's a mouthful. Um, one DDIM from Kiwi Ears. Kiwi Ears, they're pretty new, but then they've been growing really fast. They've been releasing a lot of great products and they're becoming really popular globally. So this is their budget IM. This is only $35, and we're going to talk about it today. So just I mean, in terms of the packaging and boxing, I don't think there's much to discuss. It does come with a few different sets of ear tips. Um, I think they work fine. The ear tips that they come with. This is basically what I use for every other IM, especially the black ones and the red and gray ones. I use that for every IM. What did you think about the packaging and accessories, James?
For 35 bucks, I think it's what I would expect. It's a pretty standard box. The ear tips were okay for me. I ended up actually putting on a set of aftermarket ear tips that I found are a little firmer. I like a firmer ear tip. I get a better seal, but I thought overall the quality was pretty good. The quality of the IEM itself is really quite stunning for 35 bucks. It's a 3D printed shell, and it's finished really well. There's no seam. You can't see the seam from the top plate or the face plate to the body. It just, it's lacquered. It looks really nice. The pin connection is solid. No complaints. It's quite good.
I don't know if you could. I don't know if you can see it, but it does have a slight colored kind of faceplate to it, but it's very subtle. So it looks mostly black. I don't know about yours. I got the blue one. It's a very subtle, like slight blue swirl to it, but I really like it. You're right. It's very well built. It fits very nicely. It's very flush in with your ears, not too big. Yeah, you're right. I think it's great. The build quality
Yeah,
is great.
I would
Uh,
agree. Size wise, it's really nice.
Cable. I mean, I think it's a generic cable. I think it has kind of a plasticky feel, but it is a four core. It's a braided cable. It sounds fine. There aren't too many microphonics with it. And one of the great things I found is they don't really tangle that easily. They're quite tangle free, so it's been really nice to use. Do you have any thoughts on the cables, James?
Well, I liked the cable until I caught it. I was sanding with my angle sander, and
Oh boy.
the cable got stuck in the grinder and ripped the whole thing out of my ears. Luckily, the the IEMs were fine. The cable was shredded, cut in half. So I have an aftermarket triple win cable that's pretty good. But I like the cable. I think it
Yeah.
was comfortable. Some cables, they're like too stiff around the ear, and they pull the IEMs out of my ear. I found that cable to be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it is a little bit plasticky, but it's not stiff. It's still pretty solid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's been easy to use.
Now I know
Uh,
you were telling me that you have been using a TWS, and that's a way
yeah.
you like to use the.
So I've actually been using it mostly with this is the TRN BT20 XS, and these are little just wireless adapters, and these are all 2-pin connectors, so you can pop them out, and stick it in like that, and there you go. The cadenza is
Yeah.
just wireless. So they've been sounding great. There isn't any hiss to it. It pairs really nicely. Really no complaints. So this is how I've actually been mostly using the cadenza so far, and it works great.
Yeah.
They sound great. Um, yeah, it's my kind of go-to right now.
Yeah, I think the cadenza is, because it's so small and so inexpensive and sounds so good and seals well. It's a great kind of all-arounder, errand running IEM, grocery
Yeah,
store, lawn mowing, things that maybe things that aren't that sit down and listen critically.
exactly.
For me, it's
I mean,
great for.
this combo right here, I mean, this is under $60 and it sounds pretty good, and it fits flush. It's not, a lot of money, so you don't have to worry about it getting damaged or whatnot. So it's a great commuter IM too.
Yeah.
The one thing though is the packaging doesn't come with a case. But for $35, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah. I just jam them in my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, but this is exactly, I think, what it's meant for. Something that you
Yeah.
can throw around and it still sounds great. So, I mean, with that, why don't we
Yeah.
just dive straight in about the sound? Here's the frequency response graph. And basically, we can see it is slightly Harman-esque in terms of the curvature. It's a mild V shaped. And it looks like it would have a very bassy sound, and kind of scoop mids. But in my listening experience, I didn't actually find the cadenzas to be overly too bassy. I mean, definitely the bass was there, if it's in the track, but it wasn't like obnoxiously loud in terms of the quantity of bass. What did you think, James?
Yeah. I felt that the bass was confident, uh, tight. I like the a little mid bass forward feel or sound of the IEM. I think for me, when I started listening with these, I didn't notice the bass as a standout, either detractor or something really amazing. It just was there, and I
Yeah.
think for the most part, that's one of the greatest things about this IEM is I just forgot that I was listening to IEMs, and I just really enjoyed the music.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. They sound quite natural. Uh, but in terms of the bass quality, I didn't enjoy it all that much. I mean, they say it's Beryllium coated drivers, but the bass ended up sounding a little bit mushy, I guess. It was a little bit too rounded for me. It did have good impact, but then in terms of the actual texture of the bass, it had a really slow decay. It felt really rounded. Um, so I didn't love the bass too much, except for the fact that it wasn't, all that in your face. The mids weren't that bloated. The low mids, they weren't all that muddy. So, in that kind of sense, the bass, it was okay for me. It wasn't great. Um,
I
and
think
also,
I think
yeah,
for me, I think for me the thing that maybe was the biggest detractor wasn't so much the bass, it was the treble frequencies around maybe just below that sort of airiness, real high,
yeah, yeah,
maybe 5K cymbal crashes just didn't, the timbre didn't sound nearly as natural as I would like. And I noticed as I increased the volume, the gain on the IEM, it became less natural sounding to me.
I definitely picked that up too. It definitely sounded, especially, cymbals, rides. It definitely had a weird kind of a metallic tinge to it.
Mm.
I think yeah, it was too brilliant. There was too much brilliance to it. Definitely had a off timbre. I don't think the quantity wise, it wasn't like super peaky. It wasn't like harsh in terms of the quantity, but then more of like texture itself. And you're right, as you increase the volume, it definitely is more and more noticeable. That kind of unnatural timbre to the
Yeah.
upper chart.
Yeah. It's a single dynamic driver. And I think it, for me, I don't know, you're maybe an IEM designer who has a lot more experience with this. I know in speakers, which I designed, the advantage of a full range speaker that's just one driver is you don't have any crossovers. So you're not dipping or increasing at that place where where the crossover is switching from one driver to another. But you're also asking one driver to handle an entire frequency range. And I think in a $30 IEM, maybe finding a driver that can confidently handle an entire range flawlessly is maybe at any price, might just be too much to ask.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one of the downfalls of a single dynamic driver IM. I mean, which again, I mean, I noticed, these do sound pretty coherent. It has that coherency of a single driver IM, but in terms of the actual getting a really tight and nice frequency response, that is one of the difficulties.
Mm.
But I mean, having said that, I actually really enjoyed kind of the mid-treble transition. I think the Pina is done really nicely. Vocals, both male and female vocals, they sound really crisp. They got a nice bite to their sound. Instruments too, like stringed instruments especially, they sound really crisp, really clean. A little bit, I would actually say it felt a little bit on the leaner side to me, just because it's felt a little bit scooped, especially with male vocals. But it wasn't too bad. And I would say overall, the tonality sounded pretty balanced, minus kind of the bass texture and what you mentioned, the upper treble.
How did you find the sound stage on these Kiwi Ear Cadenzas?
Yeah, that was yeah, I mean, technicality sense, soundstage was also kind of, I don't know if I liked it or if I disliked it. It sounds wide. It definitely has a wider soundstage, but it was a wide in the sense of, you feel like you're standing in the back of the audience. You feel quite far away from the stage. So it's, especially main vocal placements, they kind of felt a little bit far away. They also felt a little bit hazy. Maybe, I don't know if you felt that, but a little bit hazy, a little bit far away. So that was kind of, yeah, I think for me.
I think that's a really apt description. I think distant and hazy, and not like overly so. I'm talking very subtle degrees. I think these are really a tremendous sounding IEM, but it didn't have that really open, spacious sound that I get out of some other IEMs, or that feeling like I'm really nestled in the music. It did feel like maybe I was listening from the back of the room.
Yeah, very strange. But
yeah.
One positive thing though is I did notice these have really nice layering. Even though it's a single driver IEM, even in the most busiest tracks, I could pick up instruments separately pretty nicely. There wasn't too much kind of everything sounded pretty good. Like instruments were layered. Even the imaging, I would say, was pretty decent on these, and I could pick apart instruments, place them relatively well without too much issues. So that is one of the benefits, one of the pros about the technicalities of the cadenzas, I think.
I would somewhat agree. I feel like for me, I enjoyed these more with acoustic music, maybe music that had less going on. I found they really shined with less instrumentation, maybe a guitar, vocals, maybe when the layering got complicated in the music, I found these to be less capable of separating out instruments as some other sets that I enjoy. I'm not quite sure why, but maybe it got a little muddy for me.
Interesting. Well, I mean, two different takes, but I think that's okay. So I mean, overall, what would you say?
For $35, for something that's small and very comfortable and stays in my ears, it's a big thumbs up. I give it a big thumbs up. They're I would give them as gifts. I would enjoy using this when I'm running errands or doing non-critical listening, maybe making dinner, listening to podcasts, listening to music, something where I need to keep them in my ears for a long time. I'd probably even use these at work for dialogue audio. How about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, for 35 bucks, who is the audience that, they're intending this for? And I definitely agree. I think, I see two kind of audience groups. One would be, people who are kind of just starting into the audio hobby. Maybe they want, better sounding earphones, but don't want to have to spend a lot of money on it. I think the Cadenzas, especially, with this kind of the Bluetooth Duo, I think this is a great and easy, approachable way to get into great audio. And again, they don't sound the best, in terms of purely sound speaking, but they sound good enough. They sound great actually for 35 bucks. So it's a great entry into the hi-fi world. And for, people, the second group of audience I see would be, as you mentioned, people who are into audio, who have other gear, but they need something that they can just kind of throw in their pockets, not have to worry about getting damaged. This is a great commuter IM. And also, again, it fits very nicely. It seals well. It's super comfortable. It's light. That's not something that you get with every other IEM. So that's kind of my two audiences that I see, and kind of having them in mind. I definitely, yeah, I recommend. I would give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
I think for the price, again, these are quite fantastic. And again, these are beryllium coated drivers. I don't think you get beryllium drivers at this price range. So that's definitely a plus.
Big plus, big plus. Huge value set, huge value set. They come close to some other single dynamic drivers that cost a lot more.
Well, that was the Kiwi Ears Cadenza. That's two thumbs up, I guess, from both of us. So great job, Kiwi Ears. So we'll catch
Keep
you
it
guys
up.
on the next one.